This is Çatalhöyük, almost 9,000 years ago, one of the first places where people dared to live, build, and dream together. But there is tension in the air. Hunters have returned from the plain. They wear more than just prey, something that puts the whole village on. What have they seen outside the safe walls of Çatalhöyük? And why do the elderly whisper over omen about the spirit of the hill that would be restless? Welcome to a time when the first cities had no name yet, but the start of everything that we now find. In the south of present-day Turkey, on the edge of a vast plain, thousands of years ago, was one of the first major settlements in the world, Çatalhöyük. Between about 7,500 and 5,700 BC, thousands of people lived here, at a time when most people were still traveling as hunters and collectors. What makes Çatalhöyük so special is the way people lived. The houses were built from mud bricks straight against each other, without streets or alleys in between. Those who wanted to move walked over the roofs. Access to a house went through an opening in the roof, with a ladder down to the living space. Those houses were simple, often one rectangular room with a fireplace and sleeping places along the walls. Daily life revolved around agriculture and animal husbandry, something that was revolutionary at the time. Instead of being dependent on hunting or collecting wild plants, the inhabitants themselves grew their food. Wheat, barley, legumes and peas grew on the fertile plains around the settlement. They also kept animals such as sheep and goats, and there are traces of dogs like pets and guards. The people of Çatalhöyük were also skilled in trade and craft. They made earthenware, weaved fabrics, and worked flint, obsidian, and wood. Through trade they exchanged raw materials with other communities, sometimes from hundreds of kilometers away. What is particularly striking in archaeological research are the religious and symbolic traces that can be found everywhere in the houses. On the interior walls, hung bull heads of clay, or real skulls, possibly as protective or ritual symbols. Memorials have been discovered on the walls, with images of hunting scenes, animals, and symbolic representations that indicate a rich world of faith. Under the floors of the houses are the graves of the deceased. People were often buried within their own home, sometimes together with personal belongings or ritual objects. This indicates a strong bond between the living and their ancestors. It is striking that there is little evidence for social hierarchy. Unlike later cities, such as in Mesopotamia, no large palaces or temples have been found. The houses are almost the same in size and design, which indicates a relatively equal society. Yet life in Çatalhöyük was not without challenges. The plains could be dry and unpredictable. There was competition for food and raw materials, and possibly a threat of unknown groups outside the settlement. That balance between cooperation, rituals, agriculture, and survival made Çatalhöyük a unique step in the history of man, a place where people first lived, built, and believed in something that was larger than themselves. For generations, Çatalhöyük was a safe place. The people lived close together, shared their food, their stories, their roofs. From the sky, the settlement looked like a honeycomb from lemon houses, without streets, without squares, but with a connectedness that made the residents stronger than the rugged land around them. Yet cracks started to arise, literally and figuratively. Some elderly people still remembered the great eruption of Mount Hasan Dağı, who was not far from the settlement. At the time, the sky filled with ashes, the soil was bent. In the murals of Çatalhöyük, you can still see how houses and people are depicted with a fiery mountain in the background. Some saw it as a warning of the gods, others as a natural ritual of destruction and rebirth. After the eruption, the country changed slowly. it seemed less fertile. The ground once rich and black became drier. The plains around the village showed traces of overgrazing, bare spots where grass once grew. The herds of sheep and goats bare the area bald, and it took more effort to harvest enough grain for the thousands of mouths in the village. Something also changed within the community itself. There were rumors about tensions. Some skeletons that archaeologists would find thousands of years later showed signs of violence. Bruises, bone fractures, small silent instructions of quarrels or conflicts, perhaps for food or water. Yet Çatalhöyük continued to exist for a long time. People continued to rebuild their houses, often after a ritual fire. They buried their dead under the floors, close to the living, surrounded by the skulls of bulls and the images of mother goddesses. Trade remained important. Obsidian shells and other materials found their way to the city from distant regions. But the change didn't stop. The stories of the hunters who moved on, the trips to unknown areas, the rumors over new villages with more space and richer lands, they spread quickly. Families slowly started to leave. First a few, then more. There was no war, not a sudden disaster, but a gradual emptying. The houses were abandoned, the roofs crashed into, the remains of fireplaces out. The people who stayed behind saw the emptiness grow. What was once a lively community of thousands of people slowly turned into a quiet and abandoned place. Eventually, around 5700 BC, Çatalhöyük was abandoned. No dramatic downfall, no fiery destruction, only the traces of a civilization that had had his time. What remained were layers of earth, broken walls, and silent memories, until thousands of years later, archaeologists broke open the ground and brought the secrets of Çatalhöyük to life again. Did you like this video? Maybe you will also like one of these videos. Thanks for watching and have a nice day.